I am going to be Tell Daddy. I hear voices.
You've got mail.
Hi there. I came across this disgusting rabbit hole about this chronically online man baby. Was wondering if you'd take a look. It's sickening, so fair warning, I guess. His name is Andrew Ditch, 40-something-year-old guy who still lives with his parents. From what I read, he used to be a pretty normal guy, but he's completely unrecognizable from that person now.
Hey, I'm Andrew from A-Bass Species.
I don't want any more. I don't want you to be in your house anymore.
Apparently back in 2008, this guy was hit by a car on his way to work and left unconscious on the side of the road. The driver just left him there. His family quickly found him and rushed him to the hospital where he stayed for the next 2 days.
And they said, well, the probably a concussion, you should be okay.
But when he woke up though, he wasn't Andy anymore. Not at least in the way his family knew him. No, he was something entirely different. When they brought their son home, they had no way of knowing they actually invited in a complete monster. Andrew suddenly started being unable to make it to the bathroom in time. His parents had no idea what to make of this.
I'm pooping myself. I'm pooping myself.
After a few days of this, he told his mother how great accidents actually felt. He then overnight made the switch to diapers and began to speak like a baby, demanding that his parents change him.
Let's talk about that really quickly. Some of you guys seem to think that I don't deserve that help. I can't help that I need to wear a diaper. I can't help that I need help fitting my diaper on properly.
Like some kind of deranged child, if his family tries to say no, he will fester for days to the point of infection, will throw these insane tantrums where he breaks glass and other household items, and repeatedly hits his head into walls, running around the house crying in tears about his parents' mistreatment of him.
Please, I want to get my sneakers since you called me a face and you hurt me. He's holding me hostage. I asked you to go upstairs.
It gets worse though. He calls the authorities on a daily basis to have his parents arrested, yet he also believes that the police are conspiring against him with his internet trolls so they can cyberbully him.
Hi, Andy calling. Can I please have my father arrested? He's refusing to allow me to throw out my diapers.
He screams at hospital staff and social workers. He lives in absolute disarray, and he films it all to prove that he is the real victim, citing that his autism prevents him from taking accountability.
I just feel kind of uncomfortable that people just don't understand autism and what it is.
The situation is out of control, and I don't know how, but it needs to end.
Please, I don't want to have autism
This is a
anymore.
hospital phone. There are plenty of sick people here. You cannot keep calling up here saying...
A man from the city of Tonawanda faces 3 felony charges accused of spiking the food of several of his family members. Facing 30
Oh, that's why you're allowed to bully me online.
This is barely scratching the surface. It's honestly quite a mess to even piece together. If you do decide to look into this, proceed with your own discretion. When I look at this, I think of the world and society, pretty profound stuff, and I think about the one thing that connects us all, tighter than family, is poop. Today we will be made as whole. Allow me to elaborate. If you're like me and spend far too much time on the internet, you've probably come to find that over the years that this place is quite the mixed bag of both positivity and downright stomach-churning depravity. You also have probably found that you have a chronic deficiency in vitamin D. Now don't get me wrong, the internet has produced some wonderful moments and some even more wonderful individuals. We've got heartwarming individuals like Markiplier, innocent people who make tutorial videos that want to help you with that niche little problem that's been keeping you up for the last several hours, that's been making you want to run your head through the nearest source of drywall. We've got cat videos, subway surfers, whatever this type of content is and whoever that caters to, and even one of science's greatest achievements, Bald Markiplier. The internet is a beautiful place, no doubt. Among the friendly faces, across all the ones and zeros that bring us together in the little devices in our pocket, there are also malicious individuals that wreak havoc across the online sphere, gaining reputable notoriety across the back alleys of the internet. That the average individual who merely uses the internet for a few laughs with their morning coffee may find themselves none the wiser to. God bless your soul if you don't know what I'm about to mention here. From individuals such as World of T-shirts that document themselves being a complete and utter nuisance to unsuspecting citizens for unknown motives. Families with a rather peculiar brother and sister dynamic, held together by a wolf pack-like structure.
You want to challenge my pack? Well, I hate to say this, but I'm not the alpha that you want to challenge. Because my true alpha is right there.
So true.
He's the alpha. The classics, like the author of the eye-opening eye-opening New York Times bestseller, Sonichu, aka Christian, to even more sinister creatures such as those who prey upon the weak and impressionable, stalkers, life deleters, so on and so forth, the internet can often act as a volatile stage for some of the world's most deplorable individuals around. And as I'm sure you can deduce with that big, bright, beautiful mind of yours, our lovely specimen of interest that we'll be dissecting here today will easily earn himself a place in the Internet Hall of Fame for all the wrong reasons. Allow me to have the dishonor of introducing to you the cryptid of Cleveland, Ohio himself, Andrew J. Ditch, aka the Poop Squatch. 39-year-old Andrew J. Ditch, a man truly in his prime, is a stay-at-home son of two far-from-loving parents, with a love for tormenting those around him such as his mother, father, brother, with a heinous lifestyle involving a depraved addiction of soiling himself in diapers, to the point of becoming a walking biological hazard ridden with infections, pushing both his family and local law enforcement to the brink of insanity due to having little to no control of the unstable antics that this man gets up to. Now, don't quote me on this, but I need to go back and double check, but I'm pretty sure he has called the police on his family up to 200 times because they refused to change his diapers. It's, wow, what an interesting individual. Now, one might assume that being 39 years old, his family would have had enough time by now to assess the situation and find a suitable solution for the stinky, poopy problem that was their son. But the harsh reality is that Andrew was not always a diaper enthusiast that was hell-bent on playing with his dog's poop in his spare time. Yeah, that's a thing. I swear to you, there's a lot to unpack here. There was once a time, according to his family, that Andrew Ditch was a rather humble Cleveland man, albeit with a few questionable hiccups here and there, but held down stable part-time employment as a Ronald McDonald actor, ran a tech guide channel that has since been privated due to his recent controversies coming to light, a love for meteorology, and he even ran a local PC tech business known as Avast PCs with a positive reputation. Remarked by his family as quite the go-getter in life with big dreams for his future, Andrew by all accounts seemed to be content with his role in life as the average Joe. But tragically enough, one fateful day when Andrew was in his 20s, a time where he should be enjoying his life to the fullest, he was struck by a vehicle on his way to work and was left lying in the middle of the road for an unspecified amount of time before paramedics were able to transfer him to a nearby facility. Upon Andrew being hospitalized and released back into the care of his family, they found that the son that had gone to work only a few days prior was not the son that had returned home to them, and instead was someone entirely different who was about to make their lives a living nightmare. From that point forward, their beloved son Andrew would begin to start exhibiting bewildering behaviors, starting with a loss of interest for all his passions, which led to the closure of his PC business, leaving him unemployed and under the 24/7 care of his family, proceeding with an infectious and unusual sense of entitlement, followed by him discovering a joy in soiling himself for his own satisfaction, while attempting to coerce his mortified parents into changing him, as he for some reason felt entitled to them playing along with his volatile act. Andrew's reluctance to take accountability for his actions would only be further emboldened when, according to his family, he would discover surface-level symptoms for neurodivergency and would begin to use this as a defense for his relentless soiling of diapers that he would use to torment his family. Whether Andrew is actually on the spectrum is a topic of much debate, which we'll get someone in depth into later so you can choose for yourself what you want to believe. The story of Andrew Ditch, aka the Cleveland Poop Squatch, is one of tragedy, disgust, appetite ruiningness, will quite frankly make anyone who hears the details of what we are about to discuss wish that they could get their stomach pumped. But before we get right into this lovely bedtime story, if you'd allow me to briefly introduce myself, I'd write your name down in my journal of really cool people. Hi, I'm Wonder, and for today, I'm Dr. Wonder, PhD in diaper menaces. I studied in med school for 10 years for this very moment. Truthfully, it is an honor to have this time with you today, to delete your appetite for the foreseeable future. Don't be scared, we're in this together. But I'm not a doctor. You can find me uploading calm deep dives on some of the internet's most heinous individuals around. So if you like what you see here today, consider reaching out to a loved one because help's available, and then feel free to drop a like and subscribe down below with a bell notification on, followed by a comment telling me your thoughts on Andrew and what you think's going on here, or on how much you either liked or vehemently despised the video. Also, don't be a stranger and consider following me on my socials, which can be seen on my white fleshy skin, and also consider becoming a Patreon member if you want to help support further content like this in the future. I got a patron while I was recording this. That's awesome. Eats, thank you so much for the $2 donation. I apologize, but before I forget, a huge shout out to a creator by the name of Goose Gambit for being kind enough to send me additional information on today's coverage, which led me down an even deeper rabbit hole than I could have ever expected. They have numerous videos covering Andy and other various online characters, so make sure to check them out as well as the other channels listed on screen after this video. But with those pestering self-promos out of the way, let's waste no time in diving right into the mentally strenuous lore of Andrew Ditch, the internet's most notorious diaper demon.
Genesis, Layer 01.
Look guys, I'm really stressed out. I had a really good day. It's always that one time I get so abused emotionally. My dad was denying me everything, and I can't even get his help, who's responsible for my money. He won't even give me my money. $160 for my diapers. But he's going to claim I spent $500 of my money? Impossible.
In the beginning there was man, and not long after, there was Diaper Man. But throughout the evolutionary chain reaction that led up to the creation of the Cleveland cryptid, we have to take a step back and ask ourselves, what tragic series of events culminated to the man that stands before us here today? Well, in order to answer these questions and to understand this individual further, we have to go back in time to day one, the birth of the Poop Squatch. Andrew Ditch was born into the world on June 7th, 1985, in the humble town of Tonawanda, New York. Up until recently, Andrew, by all accounts, lived a rather normal small-town life with his family, consisting of his two parents, Janet and Thomas, and his older brother, Joe. When sifting through the documents regarding the early years of our beloved Andrew, you won't find anything out of the ordinary. Anecdotes from his family cite that Andrew, for the majority of his life, maintained a consistent sense of normality throughout the years, minus one blemish on his good boy record involving an incident where he had a physical altercation with his brother Michael, leading to Andrew temporarily being removed from his family's home and placed into public housing. If you were to ask me, I have my suspicions that Andrew's milquetoast behavior was not as accurate as his family leads on in interviews. But we don't live with a man, so we have to take their word on how their son truly was behind closed doors. In regards to Andrew's teenage years and early adulthood, to say he was mildly ordinary would be somewhat of an understatement. When it came to academics, Andrew, according to what could be found at least, never graduated high school. However, this information is in fact met with conflicting sources. There are rumors that Andrew may have in fact actually graduated from a special needs alternative school known as Stanley J. Falk School, though this information also could have been placed into circulation by Andrew himself to further bolster his claims of being autistic. But in my personal belief, after seeing all the evidence, I'm inclined to believe that Andrew's education most likely ended at high school, due to the scrutiny surrounding his assertion of being special needs. Andrew's lackluster educational career would be surpassed in his 20s, with what seemed to be a fruitful life of hobbies, interests, and even his own business ventures that would lend him moderate success and respect amongst his family and peers. Described as ambitious by his family, Andrew would take a promising leap of faith for his career and dive headfirst into the tech industry, quickly becoming employed by starting his own computer business known as A-Best PCs, which grew to even have a positive reputation with a Better Business Bureau. By all means, high school may not have worked out for him, but Andrew wasn't going to let that stop him from making something out of himself in this world. These actions of his were fairly admirable of him, and to pull off such accomplishments would require a degree of self-awareness and competence, attributes that would eventually grow to become a far cry of the man he was to become. At this point in Andrew's life, he was exactly what you could expect from the average 9-to-5 Joe. But things would soon heat up, as Andrew would quickly discover that he could expand his computer business by uploading several computer-related videos to the World Wide Web on his channel known as A-Best PCs. Seemingly overnight, Andrew had now gone from being a local figure to becoming a worldwide internet sensation across the globe for his exquisite tech tips as he acquired billions of followers. Okay, that's a f***ing lie, but his channel was a rare insight into the sparsely documented life of Andrew's early years. At first, when visiting his channel, you would find a gentle giant who is eager to help you with all your aggravating tech-related issues, assisting you with anything related to your internet, home router, and modem. even shedding light on the best methods on how to clean your PC as well. However, I will say, with all due respect, there was a video on Andrew's tech channel where he's trying to teach individuals on how to clean dust out of a computer case, and he has the entire tower resting on his front porch on a small wobbly bar stool where the computer can barely even rest entirely on the stool. I gotta say, when I watched this, I waited 13 minutes with my breath held, waiting for this thing to just collapse at his feet, and I don't want to be a little up, but that would have been incredibly hilarious. What do you even do in that instance? You're trying to film a tech video and the whole thing explodes. Now you may ask yourself, why am I paying particular attention to his unassuming PC tutorial videos? Well, what makes these humble home videos stand out, which is incredibly easy to miss at first glance, is that Andrew can be seen talking normally in these uploads of his. Something that is incredibly important to keep note of throughout our analysis, as it will come into play later on.
Hello guys, I'm Andrew from eBest PCs here. I'm going to show you how to hook up a wireless network into an existing single connection computer internet connection. Hey, I'm Andrew from eBest PCs. You clicked on a YouTube video on me finishing up a computer repair. First off, I installed Windows 7 Home Premium 64-bit on this customer's computer. And then I installed System Mechanic Professional with System Shield, an antivirus program, 30-day trial on this computer. I'm just finishing up the disk check verification for this computer just to make sure it's all up and running for the customer when he comes tomorrow.
From this point of Andrew's life, things would seem rather normal, becoming a friendly face in the neighborhood that you'd wave to when grabbing the newspaper with your morning cup of coffee. A true red-blooded American playing his part, almost so patriotic that it nearly brings a tear to my eye. As time progressed, Andrew's day-to-day would soon begin to blossom in all sorts of brand new directions, developing a hobby for meteorology, and even taking in some extra income on the side by landing himself a part-time gig as a Ronald McDonald actor at his local McDonald's, surely bringing joy to children from all the lands and setting the new standard for what a Happy Meal truly was. By all means, the future appeared bright and humble for Andrew J. Ditch. He had a life, a well-respected business, and loved ones who were blessed to have him in their day-to-day. Quite frankly, he was maintaining a rather admirable life and seemed content with who he was. Something I'm sure many of us wish we could achieve within the lives of our own from time to time. But unfortunately, that fruitful path that laid before him would tragically be thrown off course into something completely unrecognizable, leading to the downfall of his career, his hopes and dreams, as well as the solid foundation that was the relationship with his family. This drastic switch in Andrew's simple slice of life could be directly pointed to one fateful day, when on his way to work, like business as usual, an incredibly unfortunate accident would change his life and the life of his family forever. And the nightmare that was soon to occur in this quiet corner of Cleveland, Ohio, was something no one, his family nor law enforcement, could be realistically prepared for.
I can't want to live anymore because you bullied me! And you hurt me! I want to get my sneakers! I'm running away!
Metamorphosis. Layer 02.
There's one issue that's always been on our minds, and it's been there for a long time. And we got a phone call. We're sitting down to eat dinner. Come and see your son if you want, because otherwise he's going to be dead. He's laying in the middle of the street. He got hit by a vehicle, hit and run, and we had to call the police and the ambulance, get him to the hospital, whole 9 yards. And ever since, we always questioned whether or not he had brain damage.
I don't want to go in anymore to the doctors. I ask you to help me.
Welcome back. I hope you're not eating at this point because things, for a lack of better terms, are about to get very messy. As much as I'd like to give exact specifics for the time frame in which Andy's life-changing accident occurred, those particular dates have unfortunately been lost to time. However, given what can be pieced together from a psychological evaluation report, The first signs of Andrew's home life turning into a 24/7 bacterial nightmare began somewhere between the years of 2008 to 2009. When Andrew was in his early 20s, between ages of 21 to 22 to be exact, he was residing in a group home for misguided adults after a physical altercation occurred between him and his brother, resulting in his family temporarily removing him from the home. During this time, life for Andy, I'd imagine, was rather dull. Yet he was on the right track to restoring his family's trust and making something of himself, all the while maintaining for a period his new, as mentioned prior, job as a part-time Ronald McDonald actor for his local fast food chain. It was steady work, and it seemed that with employment and some distance between his siblings and parents, that he'd soon be able to return home when the waters had finally cooled on their situation. However, this moderate ending would tragically never come to fruition for Andy. On one typical unassuming workday, Andrew woke up, made himself breakfast, took a shower, and threw together his Ronald McDonald attire before grabbing his bike and heading out for his usual 9 to 5, most likely enjoying or at least appreciating the waking world around him. Andrew was traveling his normal route to work when a reckless driver who was not paying attention to his surroundings suddenly struck the unsuspecting Andrew ditch, rendering him unconscious. Based upon the lack of a police report, it would appear that the driver who had struck Andy quickly assessed his situation, saw Andy lying motionless in the middle of the road, and promptly fled the scene. It is unknown exactly just how long Andrew laid unconscious in dire need of medical assistance. In an interview that was obtained and archived on Kiwi Farms, Andy's father went in depth on how he had received a call that their son had been a victim of a hit and run, and that if he didn't arrive soon, that Andy would most likely pass away at the scene. What is interesting about this interview is we hear a first-hand account of his father attesting to how Andy's life and behavior used to be prior to this tragic accident, describing him as a rather well put-together member of society with ambitions. Direct anecdotes like this are incredibly important when it comes to piecing together the reality that is Andrew's story. So let's together, you and I, take a listen to what Andy's father had to say on the record about this particular incident.
Well, there is one. There's one issue that's always been on our mind, and it's been there for a long time. When he lived on the apartment, when he beat the heck out of his brother, when his brother was growing up, when he was 16 or 17, they put him in a Heinz Proj, and he was riding his bike on Heinz over by the apartment and Fletcher, and we got a phone call. We were sitting down to eat dinner. Come and see your son if you want, because otherwise he's going to be dead. He's laying in the middle of the street. So we raced out, got in the car, went over there, and he's laying in the middle of the street. He got hit by a vehicle, hit and run, and we had to call the police and the ambulance, get him to the hospital, whole 9 yards. And they said, well, other than probably a concussion, he should be okay. And ever since, we've always questioned whether or not he had brain damage.
Yeah, no doubt that's a traumatic injury. There's a good chance, right?
He never showed that. I mean, he had, so get this, and he used to drive, and he used to have his own computer business in our house, and he was high rated with the Better Business Bureau, and he was an amateur weather meteorologist, and he locates storms at the airport, and all these other things, and all that stuff, and all the stuff he was interested in, and he loved the sleepers. Lost interest, can't do it, can't function, no more.
Yeah, that's clearly traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, you go from one extreme to the other, and he wonders why my wife, and his brother are so frustrated with him. They can't trust him to go anywhere, so because he'll call the police. He'll call the police when he was living here 40 times a day.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving, we had 5 police officers around our dinner table because Andy called the police on us.
Oh, great.
And it wasn't once, it was 3 times in that one night. We finally gave up on eating our dinner. That's how bad it is. And you never know when Andy would call the police at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when you're sleeping on you. And police would come upstairs because if you didn't answer, didn't know the police were downstairs.
Yep.
Andy would call that we were ignoring his needs. He needed something for me to do, or needed my wife something to do, or whatever. And we refused, and all these other issues. It was horrifying.
As you and I just heard, Andrew's father goes in depth about how before this accident, his son was a rather well-rounded individual with a broad sense of passion, all which required a certain level of mental competence to be able to maintain. This all changed after his accident. As his father stated, Andrew's family had always been curious as to whether or not Andrew had sustained a degree of brain damage from the accident due to the severe, rather completely unrecognizable behavior of Andy ever since. Which, in no way am I a medical professional, but when looking at images of Andy after his accident, his entire head and face are completely swollen. So, I don't really know why one would have to speculate on brain damage being a potential culprit here, but again, I'm not a doctor. The interviewer even says to his father as well, quote, "That's clearly traumatic brain injury." And Andy's father agrees, stating, quote, "He wonders why I, my wife, and his brother are so frustrated with him."
Yeah, you go from one extreme to the other, and he wonders why I, my wife, and his brother are so frustrated with him.
According to his family, after bringing him home from the hospital, this is where the diapers would suddenly make an appearance in Andrew's day-to-day life, setting forth a long and painful nightmare that would push everyone involved to their absolute limit. Andrew's obsession with fecal matter and diapers that arose after his accident would seemingly arise overnight, absolutely consuming his life. From what could be discovered throughout extensive documentation of Andy, it would be found that he had an online presence on a forum called ADISC, which is a diaper enthusiast adult fun time website for those who also have a particular interest in the world of diapers. Unless you're already familiar for some reason. The reason that this information is important is that it establishes that at some point in Andrew's life, he had developed a strong love for the world of poop, as on the aforementioned adult forum, he could be found posting pictures of said poop and covering himself in his own excrement. This brings into speculation that potentially, and again, this is complete speculation here, that potentially Andrew's private obsessions and his personal life had now become blurred as one with an inability to separate the two. Imagine, if you will, inside you there are two wolves. One is a part-time Ronald McDonald actor, and the other one covers himself in poop on online forums. Despite there being clear signs that a level of pleasure comes from Andrew's diaper obsession, he adamantly claims to be incontinent. However, it would seem that he uses soiling himself as a strange tactic for control in his day-to-day life, making his family unwilling participants in his strange desires. It was not uncommon for Andrew to begin soiling himself in front of his family countless times throughout the day, only to leave them no other choice but to clean and change his adult diapers, due to the alternative being a grown man sitting in his poop for days in their home. At first, Andy's mother would bear the responsibility of cleaning him, most likely having to hose him down or running him through a car wash, I'd have to imagine. But this unbearable task would soon be shifted to Andy's father in an act of jealousy. The reason for this was that Andy's mother, Janet, would eventually fall ill, leaving her unable to wipe Andy and shifting his father's attention to her instead. Andy was unable to process that he was losing the spotlight as the main focus of attention in the family, so he quickly retaliated by demanding his father's round-the-clock attention. With Andrew now in full meltdown mode, and longing for his parents to give him 24/7 attention towards his antics, he began to dive even further into absolute and unrecognizable depravity. Andrew's day-to-day would quickly begin to consist of lovely activities, such as smearing poop on himself for entertainment, and sitting in his soiled diapers for such extended periods of time that he would begin to develop a disgusting infection on the back of his legs. Something that, for some unknown reason, he seems to find as a sort of symbol of pride, as he will gleefully share photos of said infection to the internet for anyone who is unfortunate enough to stumble across such a site. He has even taken upon some additional extracurricular activities, such as exposing himself to police officers unprompted, responding to one of his hundreds of complaints, as he, to the best of my knowledge, wanted to show to the officer the level of mistreatment his parents were inflicting on him by not changing his diapers. I'll blur this image out on screen for obvious reasons, but to paint you a bit of a pretty picture, because I'm so sure you'd totally want to see this, his legs look like red and purple fruit gushers that were left in a hot car and then stuck together in this weird amalgamation of ooze. It's delightful, I suppose. I'm also not going to scar you with the videos, but I've also seen a video of Andy where he full-on reverses that dump truck so he can show whoever is on the receiving end his infections Why he decided to back it up on camera, and I just don't know why. I have no answers as to why he does this. As we've been able to establish, as it would seem, Andrew, ever since his accident, would appear to have absolutely no self-control in regards to who and when he would show his infected leg and full diapers to. Whether it be strangers online, his own family, law enforcement, medical staff, etc. Nobody was off limits when it came to Andrew's torment. Andrew's unruly behavior would also not be restricted only to the confines of his home, as there was even an instance where, after having a full-blown meltdown in a hotel, in an act of defiance, he began to smear poop all across the walls and bedding on the room he was staying in, something that hotel staff and his family most likely were subjected to both cleaning and paying for. He truly had no consideration for the lives of anyone but himself. No doubt during the months of his drastic new behavior taking shape in their household, Andrew's family, most likely desperate for answers, had him subjected to both a psychological and medical evaluation to understand what exactly was going on to their once beloved son. Before us, we have an excerpt from this medical evaluation, and it sheds light on some rather interesting details to say the least. According to the on-screen medical evaluation, which, forgive me, this document is incredibly compressed, so I've made it as readable as I can, it alleges that when Andy was in adolescence, he was most likely both sexually and abused by his older stepbrother, Michael, a figure that is hardly documented in Andrew's life online. How this conclusion was reached is unknown, but it should be noted that this claim is denied directly by Andrew himself. Make of that as you will. What can be confirmed, as we went over prior, is that Andrew also at one point had a physical altercation with his brother Joe, which, as we know, is what landed him in a temporary group home while tension settled at home. What is also concerning to take notice of is that the evaluation also goes on to state that Andrew himself has also physically attacked both his mother and father, as well as he has had a history of banging his head into walls out of frustration. Further in this evaluation, comments from his mother shed light into the exact origins of his tormenting behavior, providing insights into possible reasonings as to what exactly clicked in Andy's head to revert him into a childlike state of temper tantrums and diapers. According to the document, Andy's mother states that his incontinence began when he was around 21 or 22, the same time as the accident, but she, quote, wasn't sure how bad it actually was. He also stated he began to not seemingly be able to make it to the bathroom after he realized it felt good to relieve himself in a diaper. It also notes that Andy has often produced baby gravy into his diapers.
Lord have mercy.
Leading credence into the theory that at some point, Andrew's private desires and day-to-day life sickeningly merged into one. According to his mother Janet, as we just read, Andrew, after his accident, would begin to Google surface-level information regarding autism and the varying symptoms that come along with it, leading to him quickly beginning to claim that he is autistic whenever he needed a convenient excuse for his deplorable behavior. It should be noted, while Andrew was diagnosed for a schizoaffective disorder, he has never actually been diagnosed as being autistic. He has actually been evaluated for specifically not having autism. It is extremely likely, as we have already discussed, that Andrew most likely has suffered from some form of traumatic brain injury, with users online speculating that he may be suffering from Munchausen disorder, something that I probably did not pronounce correct there. Correct me down below if that was a mispronunciation of the disorder, based on his insistence that he is autistic and that his personal desires involving feces are actually symptoms. I am not going to sit here and claim that I know anything about this particular disorder, and I'm not also going to play armchair doctor here, as I literally don't have the ability to diagnose anyone. I'm merely just making note of the online speculation in regards to Andy's mental health. From this point forward, Andy's home life would only grow to become an increasingly volatile nightmare day by day for his family, turning their once somewhat normal lives into a prison-like situation, with their captor being none other than Andrew himself. Andy would begin to force his family into a poop and diaper dynamic under the guise that his autism was making him childlike and unable to control his own bowel movements or ability to hold his urine. Day in and day out, he would follow his family around with soiled diapers, demanding that his parents change him and handle his own feces. When in between his how would you describe here? I guess reloading periods. He would find that his dog would prove to be a prime candidate for a poop surrogate, as he would often claim online that he finds immense joy when it comes to taking his dog's feces in the palm of his hand and squeezing it between his fingers like Play-Doh.
Tucker's poo is pretty good feeling most of the time.
I gotta go in so I can
But no, that smells, and I don't like the smell. But actually, warm poop in my hand actually felt good. I'm not even gonna lie.
No.
I am playing with my putty now.
We'll see you, Sickie.
No, it's a sensory feel that, and that's why I've been playing with my putty.
Andrew's abrupt next development would be the sudden appearance of a baby voice, one of the most insufferable forms of dialect that can be uttered from a grown adult's mouth, as he was fully attempting to convince his family that he was autistic. However, autism doesn't result in an individual specifically acting and talking like an illiterate child. Despite him insisting otherwise, Andrew's baby voice could easily be proven to be nothing more than an elaborate act, as he drops this infantile voice when he gets defensive, and was never known to speak in such a manner before his accident. A perfect example of this can be found on a 911 call that Andy placed where he claimed that his family was harming him. He goes from speaking as if he is 3 years old and in immediate danger, to fully being able to cite specific sections and laws to the operator in a moment's notice to convey his arguments in his favor. It's actually quite incredible to listen to.
You've reached the city of Tonawanda Police. Please hold a moment.
He told me, but they're breaking social service law, Article 9B. And you are aware of Article 18 U.S.C. 242, when Amherst Police and, Tonawanda Police allowed me protections to be around my dad at the time.
Even though Andrew's festering behavior, both metaphorically and physically, was taking a drastic toll on his loved ones, his family had initially tried to support him to the best of their abilities. Despite this, as time went on, with his relentless antics only growing worse, they all eventually grew to hate him over time. His own mother even refers to him as a, quote, bully, and his brother Joe will oftentimes document to his own channel his waning tolerance for his brother's insane behavior. These videos posted on Joe's channel would consist of numerous unfiltered meltdowns of Andy's, ranging from family arguments, instances involving police, refusing to respect his brother's privacy, and a particular instance that flips Andrew's behavior on its head that I feel we will need to dissect a little further here together. But before that, I want to share with you a few of these meltdowns, so you can have a better understanding of what these crash outs of Andrew's were like behind closed doors. So with that said, let's go ahead and grab some popcorn and delicious tap water and take a peek into this dysfunctional family situation.
And this is going on YouTube, Andy.
I don't care. I don't want you to hurt me anymore. I'm gonna break this so I don't have it. I can't want to live anymore because you bullied me.
He freaking threw
You bullied me. You bullied me, and the cops allow you to do it to me.
Okay, go turn on living room light.
Can you go upstairs, please? I feel cornered.
No. No.
Please, I want to be left alone. You.
Just in case he does something.
Dad, I want to be left alone. You're bullying me. Please, I want you to stop. I want to get my sneakers, Dad, so I can go run away. Please, I want to get my sneakers since you called me a fake and you hurt me. I want to get my sneakers, please. I'm calling police as you're not allowing me to get my sneakers. I'm calling the police as you're not allowing me to get my sneakers.
What, so I can destroy and make more
I'm
money?
running away.
Better to do? And you don't?
You call me a fake, Dad.
Where's your sneakers?
I don't know. He's holding me hostage. I asked you to go upstairs.
Not holding nothing. You're
I
telling me
asked you,
this
leave
is
me
my house.
alone.
I can do what I want.
You call me a
You
fake.
cannot tell me what to do, Andy.
Me, Dad, and I'm scared of you.
Good.
You allow me to be bullied online. You abuse me mentally. And you allow me to get hurt, Dad. You threw out my teddy bear because you say I don't need it.
And he has a soiled diaper on the floor.
I don't want you to do this to me anymore. You bully me and you get away with it.
He is left, heading towards the police station in the park in Tonawanda.
And my counselor, next visit,
Keep,
not to talk,
please
but
let
to
me
hear
be, Andy.
what
I want
they
to get
say.
ready for bed.
Well, Joe, I know, but you're on your computer, and I'm trying to express myself to you.
It doesn't mean you can come up here in my room anytime you want, Andy.
Why not?
So your plan is to get the cops back over here?
Because I want my diapers to be removed.
Jeez.
I don't want my diapers
Maybe they should arrest you for calling
Because
unnecessarily.
Dad, I don't want my diapers. I want to make you and Dad happy.
Mm-hmm.
You've reached the City of Tonawanda Police and Fire Department. If this is please hold a moment.
I want to make Dad and you happy. I threw away all my pills for you. I was allowed to do that.
City of Tonawanda Police and Fire Dispatcher now.
Hi, Andy Ditch calling. Can I please have my father arrested? He's refusing to allow me to throw out my diapers. I was allowed to throw out my medication, so Officer Butcher said so. I'm not allowed to throw out my diapers. Officer Butcher's also... Yeah, I would like to have a different officer. Officer Butcher also...
Andy, I can only send the officer that is assigned to your area.
Well, I also went out of Dad's house. I have a right to throw out my diapers. I have a right to throw out my medications. I was allowed to throw out my medications pill by pill, but I'm not allowed to throw out my diapers because you guys are depriving me of my civil rights. I'm sorry, I asked for a shelter. Yeah, I also asked to have my brother Michael Ditch arrested because that's what Dad has said. I'm sorry. I'm not autistic. I want to have my brother arrested. I want out of Dad's house. I don't want my diapers. 3 things. I want to file charges against abuse on my brother Michael. I'm going to keep calling every night.
Andy, I'm going to send an officer. You can talk to the officer about all of that, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
As we just saw from the documented evidence that his brother Joe had posted online, these meltdowns shed insight into the daily life of Andrew's mythical world of diapers and family turmoil. From what can be seen, Andrew's home is littered with diapers strewn about the floor. The house is clearly a wreck, and when the poop squatch is angered, society itself trembles. Andrew would throw household objects and shred his unironic designated pee pads that are yes for him and not his dog, shout at his family and call them bullies who are holding him hostage, threaten to call 911 for trivial matters such as taking his sneakers, and he even claims that he isn't actually autistic.
I'm not autistic.
Huh, now isn't that just a little bit of an interesting thing to say? I will say, as deplorable as this situation is, I couldn't help but laugh at how casual Andrew dialed 911 and asked, "Hello, can I please have my dad arrested?" No different than if he was ordering fries from a drive-thru window.
Hi, Andy Ditch calling. Can I please have my father arrested? He's refusing to allow me to throw out my diapers.
Now, these meltdowns were quite an unpleasant and disturbing sight, no doubt. But after sifting through the mountains of videos there are of this man, and I mean literal Christian levels of documentation spanning over 49 pages of videos on one website alone, a video I'd like us to take a look closer in regards to these meltdowns is one that left me puzzled as to what exactly Andrew's angle was in regards to maintaining the authenticity of his baby man life. It's a video posted on January 2nd of 2024, a wonderful fresh start to the new year, where Andrew, his father, and brother are in the driveway of their home having a verbal dispute after Andrew had thrown away his diapers and medication, where he can be heard himself claiming that he doesn't need diapers and that he faked his autism. This resulted in his brother and father digging through the trash to retrieve these particular items, because the alternative is more than likely a lot worse and quite the strain on their washing machine. At first this would sound like the mask had fully become undone and that the jig was up. But when his brother Joe turns the camera to face him, Andrew's new year, new me was more along the lines of new pants dripping with pee. So it's quite frankly a massive cluster in regards to what is up and what is down, in regards to what Andrew wants us to believe. But I'd rather you and I just take a look at this dispute here together, and you can let me know down below what you think is going on here in regards to Andrew's complete 180, because truthfully, I'm at a bit of a loss here.
I want to throw up my diapers. I don't want help anymore because he said I used to do all this. So please throw it away. Why are you forcing me to have?
Obviously, Joe, a lot of it was destroyed.
Yeah, I destroyed my medicines.
He opened
I don't need them. I don't need help.
So good.
I don't need your help.
It makes it easy for me to get it out.
You said that I don't need help. I used to do this stuff all myself.
What are you going to disturb the meeting? Because if you're misbehaving,
yeah, Andy, I'm recording too.
Crap.
Yeah, well, I want that thrown away. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't have autism. I fake.
Good.
Can you please let me throw it out? It's my.
You're having a temper.
Please,
man.
I want to throw it out. I don't want to have autism anymore.
Oh, well.
Please, I don't want diapers anymore. Please, you're forcing me to do something I don't want because you're hurting me.
Andy, if you wouldn't act like this, Andy, if you didn't act like this, we wouldn't have this problem.
I'm calling police. You're instigating me. And you're being allowed to do this to me. And I'm asking you to please throw it out.
You're right.
I don't want it anymore.
Well, you don't have a choice in the matter when you misbehave like
I don't want them anymore. Please. It's my stuff. Please. You say I don't need it. Please.
Please. You're so out of control.
He's taking my autism stuff out of the garbage. I don't want it anymore. I want to throw it away because my dad and brother's been saying I don't have autism. I can do all these things. I don't need any help. I don't want my diapers anymore. I want my dad to be happy to throw it away, and he's still confusing me. Why do I need this stuff if I have autism? Why do I need it if I don't have autism? Why do I not need it if I don't have autism?
Yeah, why am I holding the garbage for?
Baby!
I gotta get the garbage.
I want to throw
Okay, Joey, we'll let you in a minute.
Okay, thanks.
This will be the third time that a police officer coming over.
I don't want my diapers.
After watching that wonderful interaction, there are things I feel are important to note, so let's go ahead and do just that. As his brother said towards the end of the video, this would be Andrew's third time calling the police in one day alone, something that would later result in the future, with him actually allegedly serving time in jail.
This will be the third time that a police officer coming over.
I don't want my diapers.
This fact alone is absolutely insane. How law enforcement did not put an end to this sooner, as the entire local police department knows him by name, after literal years of dialing them over every minor inconvenience that came his way, is quite frankly beyond me. But what I can't wrap my head around even more is why Andrew would suddenly just up and decide that he is no longer autistic and that diapers are overrated, only to months later post in-depth diaper reviews online and revert to infantile-like behavior. I mean, clearly, he is still mentally unwell, no doubt. But why in this one instance, after genuine years of keeping this act up, did he decide to go mask off, only just to completely revert back to normal? Well, I guess not normal, but you know what I'm getting at. Now, upon a second examination of this video, it would appear that this altercation began after his father accused Andrew of being a fake, to which Andrew then went through all of his belongings out in the trash. But that also doesn't really make much sense to me, because if his family believed that he was a fake and threw his belongings away, why would they suddenly go and retrieve the items from the trash and he be so adamant that he no longer needs them? It's just such quite a confusing mess that I don't think we will ever truly have the answer to, because Andrew is just the walking definition of an enigma. According to a forum poster on Kiwi Farms who was documenting Andy and his confirmed diagnosis, a diagnosis from 2010 states that he does have bipolar, impulse control disorder, ODD, and ADHD. And in August of 2018, he was diagnosed with a schizoaffective disorder, as we had mentioned prior, a depressive type, and a noticeable absence of autism spectrum disorder from a doctor who had seen him multiple times. There was even a time where this lack of diagnosis set him off so greatly that he caused a disturbance in the streets, called the police, and when the police said there was nothing they could do for him, He then threatened to call the police on the police.
I'm gonna call 911.
This particular doctor of Andrew's has stated in his records, and I quote, "Andrew seems bent on receiving a diagnosis of an autism spectrum disorder. He seems to have read up on the condition and is familiar with some of the buzzword terminology, and he appears to embrace some of the subjective criteria about which he has read or otherwise been informed." Andrew did eventually receive one autism spectrum disorder diagnosis from a separate doctor back in 2018, but this is most likely inaccurate and a result of what is called doctor shopping, rather than an accurate diagnosis. Every other doctor he has attempted to get an autism diagnosis from has stated that he is grossly exaggerating his symptoms. With Andrew's tragic new identity being more than thoroughly established, I think you and I are just about ready to dive into the rabbit hole even further and peer into the never-ending abyss that is Andrew's extensive track record, involving the exhaustion of his local law enforcement, paramedics, and hospital staff, who are just trying to deliver care to this man to the best of their abilities, yet always seem to find themselves at a bit of a loss on how to proceed with the poop squatch. From 911 calls where Andy demands that his father be arrested for both playing the guitar and intentionally depriving him of cinnamon rolls, to more sinister acts involving the literal poisoning of his family members with laxatives, resulting in just one of his many arrests, we have truly only scratched the surface in regards to Andrew's story. And the nightmare that lies before us is about to get far worse than one could ever truly anticipate.
Destruction. Layer 03.
I called. I'm the complainee. I walked away as my crisis plan. He wouldn't even let me eat. I was yelled at. I had only a few cinnamon rolls. I had 4 out of the 6 that was there.
I'm being cyberbullied. And take your stuff offline. I'm at work right now on a Saturday night at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're calling me about cyberbullying. And the FBI is never going to do it. No way.
You know that for a fact? Is that a request or is that a court order for me not having my oil diffuser that turn it off?
Your mother is on oxygen and has been hospitalized several times due to breathing problems.
There was an intent to hurt my ears and that's what he did.
Oh my god, with this lighting, I look like a creepypasta. Wonder.exe, oh my goodness, don't watch this video at 3 a.m. Whatever, lighting's a pain, I don't want to work with it right now. I'd imagine you'd hope, after everything we just discussed, that things were as bad as they could possibly get. But as the great Anakin Skywalker once said in Star Wars Episode 3,
"This is where everything gets so much worse."
As we are about to discuss, Andrew has quite an extensive history of domestic abuse and violence that spans over decades, even before his life-altering accident that occurred that turned him into the poop squatch that we all know and love. As previously mentioned, as a teen, Andy was placed into separate housing for incidents involving physical altercations with his brother and his mother, Janet. His extreme difficulties at home were recorded in court documents that were leaked online, alongside with a diagnosis for his ADHD. It is also said in these documents that as a teen, Andy was rated in the at-risk range, with areas of concern for police involvement, academic underachievement, and disruptive behavioral problems. These violent and abusive tendencies of Andrew have been thoroughly documented throughout the years via countless uploads of his arrests, and even directly from Andrew himself across his many channels. Andrew's abuse towards his family isn't always so forthright, and there would appear, from my perspective, to be a level of calculated manipulation involving the torment of his loved ones. Andrew would seemingly use his incontinence, diapers, and fake autism as a tool to control and abuse his family, and even unrelated people around him when things didn't go his way. Dad upsets him, he poops his pants. Brother wants him to leave his room at 2 a.m. while he tries to sleep, he poops his pants. Ambulance is taking him to the hospital to give him treatment after an episode, and none of the EMTs have any bias towards him. Guess who's pooping his britches? And also take a wild guess who he's going to try and verbally berate into changing him as their only option into being left alone from his harassment. Even though there's no direct indication that he needs help cleaning or changing his diapers, or even making it to the bathroom in time for that matter, he absolutely insists upon his mother and father cleaning him like a child. If they don't play into his diaper lifestyle, he will wallow in his own waste for days to the point of developing, as we discussed prior, these grotesque infections on the back of his legs that, as he likes to call, are his leg sores, something he would frequently post online to show the world just how cruel his parents were for not changing him. At the end of the day, he has a point. I mean, how could they treat a 40-year-old minor this way? Where does the madness end? When it comes to specific encounters with police, though, oh boy, where do we even really begin? On a police report that was leaked online, on the night of November 18th, 2018, police were dispatched to Andrew's family residence for a report of a domestic incident. It appears that Andy's father was most likely the individual who had placed the call, as he was listed as the witness on the police report. Andrew's mother was stated to have said that Andrew, during yet another dispute, had been screaming in her face repeatedly, which, understandably, scared her deeply. An officer by the name of Officer Bentley, who deals with the family a lot, reported that she looked very scared and was having difficulty breathing. She also stated to the officers that she was, quote, always afraid of Andrew. When asked by police for his version of events, Andy himself admits that he had a full-blown meltdown. But when police offered to remove Andrew from the home, his mother indicated that she did not wish to pursue any charges against him. With little they could do without pressing charges, the officers were left no other choice than to leave the residence and await Andrew's next full-blown crisis. At around 12:10 a.m., however, Andrew decided to call 911 himself to report that he had a recording of his dad threatening to punch him. It was on this call that he expressed to officers that he wanted to file a report and press charges for harassment. Surprisingly enough, though, due to this recording, his father was actually arrested and booked for second-degree harassment charges. With Andy and his mother now left alone in the home together, Andrew's mother went on to call the police once more and tell them that she was fearful that Andrew would harm her, and that she was having flashbacks to a previous incident where Andrew had threatened her with a knife. At this point, she actually went through with pressing charges against him, and I mean, can you really blame her? And Andrew was then arrested and booked for third-degree menacing. It seems likely that these charges were dropped by both Andrew and his father when this made its way in front of a court, though the outcome of this exact incident is currently, to my knowledge at least, unknown. Given Andrew's relentless meltdowns and the thought of a 6-foot knife-wielding baby man making threatening gestures towards her, I really don't blame Andrew's mother for being fearful of the limits in which Andrew may be able to escalate things in a rage-induced episode. Andrew has also been documented being abusive towards both group home and hospital staff, resulting in him hardly ever being able to maintain a stable living situation and getting on the bad side of any hospital employee within a 50-mile radius. Surprisingly enough, though, there is actually video evidence of a particular instance involving his abuse towards hospital staff as well as the authorities, as Andy has quite the nasty habit of incriminating himself online for all to see. In the video we're about to take a look at, Andrew can be seen attempting to leave a hospital room. For what reason he was here is unknown, but as he attempts to exit, he is stopped by both hospital staff and police officers who try to inform him that he needs to remain in his room until further notice. In response, being the delightful citizen he is, Andy proceeded to spit on an officer that was guarding him, leading to both hospital staff and the officers locking Andrew in his room. This causes him to have yet another exhausting victimhood meltdown about his mistreatment. It's quite an insufferable watch, but let's go ahead and take a look at this clip here together regardless.
Hey, can I ask you for your name? Can I ask you for that guy's name? I'd like to please have that guy's name, that's all.
Okay, you need to stay low.
Oh, I'd like to make sure I get a good picture of him. Okay. Can I have his name, please? I'd like to know your name. My patient writes. Can I please leave?
Sir, no. The doctor
Why?
said no. The doctor said no.
I want to leave.
Hey, man, come on.
I want to leave. Can I please leave?
No.
I have a right.
That's how you're gonna be.
I'm asking to leave. I have a right to leave.
Before you leave after that crap.
I'm sorry, but you can't hold me against my will. I'm asking to leave. And I'm glad to be arrested. I don't want to be in a hospital. I don't want to be in the hospital. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but I have a right to leave. I have a right to leave. I have a right to leave. Why? Why?
Why? I have a right to leave. You can't just hold me against my will unless you have a court order or put me on a mental hold. And something you can't have criteria to hold me on a mental health hold. If you want to do that, I will make you this. I want to leave. I want to leave.
Alright, let's take a look at some of the other police reports that we're dealing with here. The oil diffuser incident. How exciting. In an incident that resulted in the arrest of Andy in March of 2020. Andy was once again reveling in the idea of putting his family either in danger or just genuinely annoying them by using an oil diffuser to calm himself. Which I know sounds relatively harmless, but stick with me here for a moment. According to his family, it was apparent that Andy's sudden usage of an oil diffuser was oddly timed, and was most likely some sort of weird way to assert his dominance over the family unit. You see, at this time, Andrew's mother had grown chronically ill and was reliant on an oxygen tank for her health. Well, as it would conveniently turn out, the usage of an oil diffuser just so happened to put his mother at risk of a potential health crisis. Because of this, Andy had been asked to turn off the diffuser by both his father and sickly mother. Seems like a rather normal thing to ask someone. But Andy, being Andy per usual, absolutely refused and started arguing with his family as he usually does when he doesn't get his way. After their family was pushed to their limit because Andrew was quite frankly making a massive deal out of nothing, they called the police to report Andy for harassment, a little bit of a taste of his own medicine. He was then arrested by the aforementioned Officer Bentley of the Tonawanda Police Department. The way that Andy presents this situation online, though, to his channel, is that he was actually being abused and arrested for using a coping mechanism, while refusing to acknowledge the fact that he was putting his mother at risk. Which, okay, let's play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Let's say that Andrew suddenly decided to use an oil diffuser because it was his coping mechanism the same time that his mother comes down with a respiratory illness. Why does he have to set the oil diffuser not even 10 feet away from her, in a house where there are numerous rooms? Andrew would record this incident and arrest, which he later posted to his account, My Autism Life Story, which was later archived separately by the channel on screen after the deletion of his account. His goal in uploading this was to display to the world his family's abuse, but anyone with a shred of knowledge on this man would immediately be able to deduce that he was in the wrong here. But don't take my word for it, you might have your own opinions. Let's go ahead and take a look at this dispute here together.
I know, you can't get near your...
For YouTube to know, it's 10 p.m. Friday, March 13, 2020. Mom called police because Andy had oil diffuser on, trying to keep relaxed from my dad yelling and not giving me sensory break when I had to take a little break to try to be able to do set the table and clear the table for him, and my sugar got low then too. So YouTube knows that I'm doing my coping skills. Anytime Andy does something for coping skills, it's call the police time.
Jan called the police because when she came downstairs to try to eat, it was so strong that she got that heart problem and breathing problem. I had to put the oxygen on. We asked her to turn it off. He refuses to do that. This morning when we came back from papers, the same thing. Even Joe, you can ask him, he had to go upstairs and couldn't stand it because we're trying to eat and he can't eat when it smells so bad. I have no idea. You'd have to ask him. He's videotaping us too.
I don't have to. You're not. Is it court order?
We want to know if we can press charges because this is our home and it's bothering our breathing.
You didn't ask me to turn off.
Could you stop shining that light in my face?
I can. Is that order or is that a violation? You're gonna arrest me for having my light on camera?
No, I'm asking you as a matter of human decency if you could stop shining a bright
Well, I did nothing wrong except for just trying to sit here, relax, and trying to do good, and I'm being not allowed to have something that helps me relax.
You're not giving me a chance to talk to you. Can you stop shining the light in my face, please?
I have a legal right.
You have a legal right, you do, but I'm asking you, can you please stop?
I want a lawyer. Any further communication?
For what? I'm not asking.
I have a legal right to have a lawyer.
Incriminating questions.
I have a legal right to a lawyer.
Okay. Well,
have a nice day.
Your parents have a legal right to not breathe in fumes in their own house. Okay? So, I'm asking you to shut the oil diffuser off.
It's for my coping skills. And I don't have to answer to you unless it's a court order for it.
Andy, can you please not?
If there's a court order, is that a request or is that an
It
order?
doesn't have to be a court order. Why do you have to talk like this all the time?
Is that a request or is that a court order for me not having my oil diffuser that helps me relax?
You don't have to. You don't need that. Your parents have. Your mother's on oxygen. It's bothering her. Okay.
And I would have turned it off.
Your mother is on oxygen and has been hospitalized several times due to breathing problems.
Yeah.
And she calls to complain because this aggravates her breathing
And she didn't even tell me to turn it off. I was on the phone with great services.
You know what? I'm asking you to shut it off.
Get a court order, then I'll do it.
No, I'm not getting a court order. I'm asking you to shut it off, or I'll shut it off.
Shut it off.
Okay.
And if you touch it, you violate my privacy.
It's bothering your parents. This is their house.
Okay, you're violating my privacy if you touch
I'm
it.
violating your privacy. How?
Because it's my property.
So, this is your parents' house.
Tell my dad to get my, as my representative payee to get my, apartment done.
Alright, well, I'll call my lieutenant and see if this fits, harassment charges, and if...
I'm not doing it, to cause anyone to get...
All because your oil diffuser's on. Okay?
I'm not doing it to cause any intent. To cause anybody
it's
harm.
bothering them. It doesn't matter.
And you don't have...
know what? Since I walked in the store, you refuse to talk to me like an adult.
Because I don't appreciate how you treat me. You're discriminating against my disability.
That's fine. You can go to jail then, okay? That's fine.
Arrest me. Throw me in jail.
See if I can.
Throw me in jail for something, Andy.
See if I can.
Arrest me for something I'm trying to do something to calm me down.
Do you want to be quiet? Because you know what? I asked you man to man if you would just turn it down, and you refused. So this is what happens, okay?
You know, after viewing this altercation again with a fresh set of eyes, I do have to say that perhaps Andrew was in the right here. I mean, sure, his mother was at risk of her breathing stopping, which, okay, sure, that can be a little bit bad. But how can you realistically expect a man to not try and relax a little bit after a long day of rolling around in his own poop and dealing with such god-awful stressors such as being forced to go hungry after his father said he couldn't have any more cinnamon rolls? Which leads me to our next police encounter, the cinnamon roll incident.
I smell cinnamon rolls.
On February 29th, 2020, Andrew would upload to one of his various channels a video titled, "I want jailed to get away, sorry to police officers who are nice for being that way." How very heartfelt of him. In this video, Andrew can be seen filming his father for some unknown reason, as he is just standing there silent in a hallway while his father has a separate conversation with his brother Joe. Andrew's father puts down some cat treats and walks into the next room where he proceeds to then play some of his guitar, to which Andrew immediately attempts to get his father to stop by exclaiming to the heavens over and over that his father's music is hurting his ears.
He's hurting my ears, Mom!
His father ignores Andrew's complaints and continues to relive his glory days as he drowns Andrew out with his guitar. Andrew, upset again by not getting his way, walks downstairs as he says that this is a part of his crisis plan, something that I assume was suggested to him by some form of professional, or when Andrew finds himself in a situation that could be distressing, which seems to be literally everything. Upon heading downstairs, Andrew promptly attempts to have his mother defend him by confiding in her how his father wouldn't stop playing the guitar, despite how badly the music was hurting his ears. Which is somewhat contradictory, as one of Andrew's favorite pastimes is frequenting rock concerts, so it would appear he only has this issue when his father is attempting to do something for his own entertainment that didn't involve him. His mother could not be bothered in the slightest by Andrew's complaining, and proceeds to continue using her phone while he rants and raves about the volatile neglect that his parents inflict upon him. His mom attempts to remind him that the police are already on their way, seemingly called once again by Andy in retaliation of his father's mistreatment. As Andy sits on the couch and converses with his mother about what exactly his father did to set him off, he claims that his father verbally attacked him for eating cinnamon rolls, citing that it was his father's clear intent to deprive him of food. When he elaborates further, you can start to see that Andy has a point and may actually be on the brink of starvation when you do the math. You see, according to the data, Andrew's father had made 6 cinnamon rolls, and Andrew had only been able to eat a measly 4 cinnamon rolls. He would have attempted to eat all 6, but his monstrous father prevented him from this, possibly as some sort of twisted means to assert dominance and hinder Andy from being at his max strength. For this reason, Andy felt he had no other choice but to try and have his father arrested for attempted neglect and for intent to hurt his ears. When the officers arrive, You can tell they too are just as mortified at the information that Andy provides, and are totally not tired of showing up to his house every single day to deal with the most pointless of issues. Now, given the information I just told you, it might be a little bit too scary, but together, let's take a look at this nightmarish cinnamon roll incident on screen now.
You're hurting my ears. He's hurting my ears, Mom! Please run away. He's hurting my ears.
Police are on their way.
He's hurting my ears. I can't believe. I'm glad it's on YouTube. I can't walk away from him like I'm supposed to.
We told you not in our room.
I have no other place. You guys are down here. Leave me alone. When he's yelling at me because Annie ate a couple of cinnamon rolls.
Ben, it's okay to come in.
Hello. What's going on?
I called. I'm the complainant.
Okay, what happened?
I walked away as my crisis plan to go walk away from my dad's verbal attack for not allowing me eat. He's my payee. He wouldn't even let me eat, and I had I'm sorry. I had gotten some to eat from that he made my mom and brother this morning, cinnamon rolls, and I was yelled at. Not only did it hurt my ears, but I just got out of the bathroom and he started threatening himself.
So you haven't eaten today, or have you eaten?
I had only a few cinnamon rolls, and I got yelled at. My dad yells at me every time he let go eat.
Was there not enough for everyone else?
It was from this morning. I didn't know it was even in there.
Okay.
Did you eat them?
I had 4 out of the 6 that was there.
So what are we here for then?
My dad wouldn't let me space. He went upstairs following me because crisis services crisis plan is to have me walk away to another room. So I went upstairs and my dad followed me and started threatening that he's going to hurt my ears by playing guitar. And he's turned it down, by the way, after, me walking away from him.
So is the issue that you ate cinnamon rolls that was made for everyone else?
It wasn't for everyone else. No one said it. It was leftovers from this morning.
Are you staying upstairs now? Are you bedroom upstairs?
I went upstairs. I'm recording this, by the way. And Andy had to walk away because that's what crisis services told me to do. So I went up there and my dad was told to give me space. And I had asked him to, and he follows me up there.
Where did you go upstairs?
I went upstairs in the only room that's going up there.
They told you that they didn't want you up there, correct?
But I have no other room to go to escape from.
You maybe go for a walk or something?
I can't. I have a knee injury. I really hurt it worse than what it was last night falling. It's really swollen and bruised. He can't hurt my ears with an intent. There was an intent to hurt my ears, and that's what he did. He turned the... Yeah, but this was quiet compared to what was upstairs just a few minutes ago. Right before you guys came, he turned down the volume on it.
Well, Andy, remember that we told you that if anyone wants to play the guitar, they can play the guitar.
But if I'm not mistaken, there was also another 911 call, which I already know the person who did it, my next door neighbor over there, called that same day. My ears hurt over 24 hours, just to let you know, after that issue. I don't think it's fair for me to go through where my ears hurt even when, the other day was louder. I'm not going to deny that.
We'll talk.
But I don't need to be hurt my ears when I have on recording.
Okay, we'll talk to your dad, alright?
As I'm sure you can decipher by now, Andrew has a tiny bit of a problem with dialing 911 at every possible chance he can, for every small inconvenience he can think of. And if I'm being honest here, in order to be able to go over every single police incident that has been documented online involving this man, we would be here for literal hours, as he's been dialing 911 every week to every few days for years. In a position like this, there is only so much law enforcement can do. You would think that the law revolves around logic, when in reality it doesn't quite work that way. Even when faced with jail time for this behavior, as long as Andy had any form of access to a phone, He'd always be calling his local authorities to save him around the clock. Andrew's notoriety began to grow so infamous in his hometown that every officer at his local precinct was not only familiar with who he was, but with his online infamy as well. And yes, that does mean that they themselves have sifted through all of Andrew's poop-filled adventures and chronic meltdowns, something that is confirmed by an officer that we are about to hear from. Frustrated with always attempting to play the neutral city defender, one officer finally had enough of Andrew's behavior and decided to lay out some cold, hard, no-nonsense truth to him, as this particular officer was tired of giving Andrew what he wanted after years of non-stop phone calls. Which leads us to the officer cooking up some knowledge incident. On one unassuming summer's night, Andrew's doorbell camera would capture the moment an officer arrived at his home after he placed a 911 call at 1 in the morning to complain about how he was being cyberbullied online. Andrew's intent here was to try and see about having the officer pull off some form of cyber hacker abilities to track down the people in his comment sections in order to have them arrested, even going as far as suggesting the possible involvement of the FBI in order to assist him. The officer who arrives on the scene is not having any of his nonsense and promptly tells Andrew the reality of the situation, informing him that if he doesn't want people to harass him online, then he should stop documenting his day-to-day life for the entire world to scrutinize online. This encounter, I will say, is actually quite refreshing to watch, as the officer says pretty much what I'm sure you, law enforcement, his family, and I have been thinking throughout this entire story. So without further ado, let's go ahead and watch this clip here together, and let me know if you think the officer here is justified, or if perhaps you see things maybe a little differently, potentially leading credence into Andrew's viewpoint on his cyberbullying.
Hi.
What's going on?
I was hoping to get a call as I'm hurting real bad.
Did get a call.
I did?
Picked up.
What?
Did get a call and nobody picked up.
Oh, I didn't. My phone is. I'm being cyberbullied.
And take your stuff offline.
Well,
Which you've been told a million times.
Yeah.
The stuff you talk about online, you're asking to be cyberbullied, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it.
Really?
Yep.
How? According to the New York State law, that there's.
I'm not doing this with you, Andy. Okay?
Why? Why? Because you're part of the bullying?
No, I'm not a part of the bullying. I'm at work right now on a Saturday night at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're calling me about cyberbullying. Okay?
Well, I called about the firework that went off earlier.
So?
And then I asked, because while I was on the phone, I asked it about the cyberbullying.
Andy, there's nothing I can do. It's YouTube. It's online. It's freedom of speech. Like, why are you putting your whole life online?
If not mistaken, impersonating other people and hiding behind fake names to antagonize me and attack me and impersonate you guys and harass you guys, and I'm sure you guys get a lot of that crap too.
Yeah, I don't do anything about it. I don't put my life online. I don't talk about my medical problems online.
Well, there's nothing you can do about it. It's hate crime.
It's not hate crime.
They're cyberbullying me.
Andy,
no
go
lie.
on any YouTube channel, and look at the amount of hateful comments on there. It's online. You're literally talking about anybody in the world commenting on your videos.
So let me just ask you this. Let me ask you this. This is affecting my mental health. You're allowing
Which is why I'm advising you to get your stuff offline. Don't put your stuff
Why
online.
are you yelling at me for?
Because you've been told this. I'm not yelling at you. I'm talking to you sternly. Okay?
Yeah.
And you have been advised of this and as to what to do about this problem tons and tons of times. I literally have heard Officer Kraft. I've been in the same room when you called Officer Kraft with the same exact issue. I'm being cyberbullied online, and he told you, and I quote,
So there's
don't
nothing
put your
you
life
can do
online.
about that, right?
What?
There's nothing. Well, you know what? When I get a guardian, there'll be something you have to do then about that.
What do you mean a guardian?
Because my dad's in the process of becoming my guardian.
Well, let me ask you this. You're pretty smart with computers, right?
Yeah.
How in the world would I go about investigating a fake name on YouTube? How would
It's actually out of your. It's out of your
a
job
city of
jurisdiction.
Tonawanda police officer, not a federal agent, not a cyber crimes detective. Okay.
That's the FBI who has to do
How
with this.
would I go about investigating a random profile on YouTube.
You can't. That's up to the FBI to do that.
And the FBI is never going to do it. No way.
You know that for a fact?
I would say with 99.9% certainty, yes. Actually, I would bet 100%. Do you think the FBI is going to take time to investigate some random person's complaint that he's being cyberbullied online?
I don't know.
No. No. We live in a crappy world, Andy. People are hateful.
They are.
Yeah, which is why you should keep your circle small and your sensitive issues to yourself. Take your stuff offline, delete your YouTube channel, stop venting online. That's all there is to it.
I've been trying to do that.
You don't try to do it. You go on tonight and delete your YouTube channel. Point blank, period.
If you haven't noticed, I haven't been posting anything.
I haven't noticed because I don't watch your videos. But you know what? You posting online and you being as active as you are online, that's what got your house, your address figured out by these people. That's what got all these fake profiles generated. If you would have just kept to yourself and kept your business to yourself, nobody would know anything. But you got to post online. And
have you ever noticed that I'm also a victim of identity theft now too?
It's not identity theft. I know what you're talking about. It's not identity theft.
But no, actually, people are getting my medical access to my personal medical information without my knowledge, and that's one of the things that ECMs is
That's
actually
not identity theft.
Stealing somebody's medical records is. There's been people who actually got my records unlawfully that shouldn't have.
What about all the character defamation you've done to me personally online? How you talked about my family, how you talked about your suspected nepotism in the police department, how you talked about the Litzes, you talked about issues of with Lieutenant Schultz before he got hired. You divulged personal information about all of us on there. How about that?
Really? I don't know any of that stuff.
Oh no, I have all the videos saved.
You do?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Good, show me that, please.
No, I don't have to show you. I have them saved for myself. All those times you threatened to sue me about everything, when you're the one that's literally posting online information that in an attempt to damage my character. What about all that? Do I call you and ask you what to do about it? See what I'm getting at here?
You're allowing. So
I'm not allowing anything. I'm telling you the steps you need to take to stop this.
Here's a question for you.
After watching this clip, I have to say that, biasly, I agree with the officer here wholeheartedly. A lot of people misinterpret the extent in which law enforcement capabilities can expand to. There isn't some magic Disney Channel wand that an officer can just wave at a moment's notice and it magically reveals the name of a user online. There is so much red tape in the legal system that it'll make your head spin, especially when it comes to social media companies, given the fact that they kind of operate within their own sort of territory. To my knowledge, even in severe federal cases, it can take a website such as Instagram up to like 6 months to even be able to get back to law enforcement because there's so many privacy regulations they have to work around. However, I would be entirely curious to see the FBI take on Andrew's case here. I personally think that would be the team up of the century, an Avengers level companionship. But in all seriousness, we do have to ask ourselves, what can realistically even be done here? Sure, no doubt Andrew's correct in saying that cyberbullying is not really a good thing, but in Andrew's case, he's essentially jumping into a metaphorical lion's den and asking himself, I wonder why there's so many lions eating me. If you don't want to get hit by a car, that's fantastic. Maybe don't stand out in the middle of the highway. Again, harassment cannot be condoned, but if you cover yourself in poop and post it online and actively call 911 on your father because he did not give you enough cinnamon rolls, then you can't exactly be mad that the public perception of you is not particularly favorable. As it would seem, Andrew was skirting along the lines of the law, and aside from a few instances where he'd be taken to jail only to have the charges dropped, there wasn't really a way to deal with the poop squatch until he either came to his senses through intense therapy, which most likely wasn't going to happen, or until he escalated things even further to the point where he had no other choice but to face serious jail time. And, well, with the latter option, with the help of some laxatives and Epsom salts, that's exactly what would happen. In October of 2019, Andrew's family began their morning like any other. They arose to the delightful odor of human feces, went downstairs, made themselves breakfast, and enjoyed a nice fresh cup of coffee like millions of people do before starting out their day. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, at first. However, shortly after breakfast, Andrew's family quickly began to notice that something wasn't quite right and that they were all starting to feel a bit under the weather. Only a few more hours would pass before all hell would break loose. Andrew's family would soon start to become incredibly nauseous, resulting in them feeling lightheaded and dizzy, brought upon by quite the zesty storm of bowel movements. Something was clearly wrong here. That's when it was revealed that Andrew had somehow found a new line to cross that nobody had once thought was possible, even for him. And that discovery was that he had actually poisoned his family with laxatives and Epsom salts by secretly adding the two ingredients to his family's coffee pot and sprinkling them on food when their family wasn't looking. What Andrew's exact motive here behind doing this will forever remain unclear. Perhaps it was some form of power trip where he wanted his family to stoop to his level, or maybe it was some strange attempt to assert dominance over them. Nobody will ever actually know. But upon this horrifying revelation, Andrew's parents quickly notified authorities, leading to Andrew being arrested later that night after officers found the evidence of his crime inside the home. To make matters even worse for him, at the time, Andrew had been under a protection order that his own family had placed against him, which meant with just a few laxatives and salt, he had actually racked up quite a hefty set of charges for himself. The charges that Andrew faced for poisoning his family were pretty serious, ranging from attempted assault, aggravated criminal contempt, criminal tampering, and disobeying a protection order. Now to clarify, one might reasonably ask how Andrew was able to remain in the home with a protection order placed against him from his own family. And the answer for that is that the order specifically stated that Andrew could reside within the home, so long as he remained quiet and caused no further issues with his family. But even with these heavy stipulations placed against him, leave it to Andrew to wake up and decide, hey, I'm gonna poison my family with laxatives today. Then we'll be one big happy pooping family. Andrew sat in jail for an unspecified amount of time with his bond set at $5,000 USD, which I'm sure his family was not eager to pay anytime soon. From where they most likely were probably standing, for Andrew's family, it most likely seemed that their nightmare was finally over. Andrew was behind bars, and the family could rest easy at night knowing that the infamous poop squatch was now out of their reach. Well, that's how it would have gone. But once again, for some reason, the charges were dropped. Yippee! Despite the charges against Andrew not going through, his family wasn't going to be simply inviting him back into their home so easily. Instead, they would effectively kick him out of their home for good, once again forcing him to move into various group homes. Something he would document quite frequently on his now archived channel, My Autism Life Story.
Hey YouTubers, Andy Ditch here. So I have a little bit of extra time I want to share with you. So I have my stuff here. So on Tuesday I go for more shopping because that's when I get my food stamps. And that's the Zero Sugar Mountain Dew from Walmart. But yeah, here's some pads that Dad got me. But yeah, there's my hygiene stuff. Dry erase markers. There's my baby wipes. There's my coat and stuff. This is my bed. My earmuffs and sensory stuff and my glasses up there. Yeah, my Star Globe. And nobody's out there right now, so... But I'm not gonna go showing everything in my home because why? The whole reason why I'm pointing this out for is because some of you guys seem to think that being disabled, you get to have people clean for you and take care of you. Although that is true, and that is something that some people do need in life, it doesn't mean that I'm a special person or somebody who deserves it or don't deserve that help. Let's talk about that really quickly. Because some of you guys seem to think that I don't deserve that help. And I don't need that help. I can't help that I need help taking a shower and wiping. I can't help that I need help fitting my diaper on properly and getting dressed properly. And it doesn't mean that I let everybody else do that stuff because I do what I can do.
From this point forward, Andrew's life would take somewhat of a new direction, although not a particularly positive one by any means. To this day, Andrew will still remain in group homes for short periods of time before he either blows up on staff members and is sent temporarily back to his family while he awaits a new group home who will accept him, or he will find himself homeless at times. Neither of these factors have slowed down his excessive usage of dialing 911 at any given moment either. However, this would eventually lead to him once again being arrested as recently as of July of 2024, where he had a full-blown public meltdown in Cleveland, Ohio, after he was kicked out of yet another group home. During the time Andrew was kicked out of his Cleveland group home, he was actively homeless due to him being far away from his family, which were still located in New York, and being unable to find an immediate place to stay. While living on the streets, Andrew called EMS services, seemingly in an attempt to get a bed in a hospital, as he had done this before, where they would oftentimes hold him for 80 hours before releasing him due to him being medically okay. Hospital staff and police were more than familiar with Andrew, as he was a regular problem in Cleveland's 2nd District, and seemingly had multiple run-ins with police while being homeless. After presumably being declined an overnight stay at the hospital, Andrew began to throw a severe public tantrum in the middle of the street, blocking both traffic and causing danger to oncoming motorists. Police and EMS were quickly dispatched to the scene, and Andrew was soon placed in an ambulance before being transported back to a nearby hospital, during which he kindly thanked the paramedics by pooping himself as he was being strapped down to a gurney. When Andrew arrived at the hospital, he was placed in a clean room, and officers began to brief hospital staff on Andy's deplorable behavior, which, as mentioned, they had been aware of previously. Andrew seemingly took issue with this information being conveyed to medical staff and retaliated by throwing himself out of bed, once again throwing another tantrum, possibly in an attempt to get police to not warn the staff about his antics, due to fear of being removed from the hospital. Seems rather counterintuitive, but whatever, go off king, I guess. Andrew managed to escape from his room and entered a populated area of the hospital, beginning to scream and bang his head repeatedly on a nearby wall. It took multiple cops to bring Andrew down to the ground. Despite this, Andrew still attempted to slam his head onto the floor. After a moderate struggle, police were eventually able to place him in handcuffs and a wheelchair. He was then arrested and taken to the county jail, where cops proceeded to warn jail staff about him as well, as Andy would be no ordinary inmate for them. Andy sat in jail from the date of his arrest until August 2nd, 2024. The judge granted him a personal bond, which means he doesn't have to pay his $1,000 bond under the premise that he appears in court, and avoids any other legal issues since his crime was technically non-violent and he was indigent. Once again, however, when it came to Andrew's lucky streak in the legal system, it would appear that these particular charges were dropped on the same day as his hearing. With a little more digging into his recent whereabouts, it seems soon after making bail, Andy somehow ended up in yet another group home around September to October of 2024, where it would appear he remained up until recently. However, let's you and I dive a little further and see where Andrew is at today.
Present day, present time.
I am so sweaty. As of now, Andrew's exact whereabouts aren't able to be fully pinpointed, as both he and his story are still active and new information is always developing. I'm sure by the time this video is done, either Goose, Kiwi Tapes, Smokey MC, Nick Nobody, and so many others have most likely come out with new updates that'll leave your head spinning and your stomach churning, with you asking yourself, how does it just keep getting worse? Seriously, all those guys do insane coverage in a quick and timely manner. If you want to know even more about Andrew, I'd seriously consider checking out their coverages, as there are just so many layers to this story that squeezing every possible detail would take literal hours. According to what can be found by my lovely researcher Heather, who was a phenomenal help in bringing you today's story, it seems that Andrew, as of current day, has quite possibly been removed from his group home once again for his deplorable behavior, or is actively seeking to leave his current whereabouts, as an ad from Andrew that was uncovered on a roommate finder website states that he has a budget of $600, somehow now has a caretaker, and is currently looking for a place to live. In the ad, he appears to state that he is living on a fixed income and can no longer afford the care room in which he is staying in, citing that he has nowhere to go. Who knows, perhaps you, the viewer, may be looking for a roommate currently. So allow me, if you will, to read an excerpt from this ad where Andy describes exactly who you will be inviting into your home if you choose him as your new tenant. I like walks and I like exercise. I like going out into the community. I like being friends and making people happy and helping people. I just ask to be treated like anyone else you do as a friend. I am repetitive. I am loving. I am caring. I am honest. I am loyal. I guess you could say, I'm someone who's like a young kid in an adult body.
I can't want to live anymore because you bullied me! I don't want diapers anymore! I want to get my sneakers, Dad, so I want to get my sneakers!
And that is the story of Andrew Ditch, the internet's most chronically online diaper degenerate. It's 5 in the morning, my retinas are burning, and those walls are starting to make a little bit of sense. Help me. If you enjoyed today's video or just have a weird fascination with a wacky and wonderful world of diapers, then I just want to take a moment to say either get some therapy or thank you for making it all the way to the end of today's video. You being here really does put a smile on my face, and 100% of this video's revenue, for the most part, will go straight into keeping my lights on. So check this out. You see that? Look at that, that's all you. I appreciate you greatly. Well, we had a good run, you and I. We made it through physically unscathed, though mentally that's probably up for debate. We had some good laughs, we cried, maybe dampened a diaper or two along the way, but at the end of the day, through thick and thin, we braved the storm together. Once again, make sure to hit that subscribe button with a bell notification on so you never miss out on any future deep dives of our beloved individuals across the internet. Also, feel free to leave a like and a comment down below telling me your thoughts on what we discussed here today, or about what you did or didn't like about the video. So if you just absolutely love me or despise me vehemently, then now's your time to shine. Also, don't forget to check out my social media on screen. I'm primarily active on Twitter, mainly due to the fact that I have a fear of sunlight and I have a poor relationship with my mother, but you can also just as easily catch me on Instagram or my Patreon if you so choose. There will be a dedicated section to those beautiful individuals here in just a moment. Without further ado, once more, my name is Wonder, and it was unironically phenomenal to have you here today. So I appreciate you letting me talk your ear off today on this rather deplorable story. Well, I'm gonna go head off to the land of the Betty Buys, because Lord knows that I probably need it. But until next time when we meet again, you stay safe, stay out of trouble, stay away from those diapers, and without further ado, I bid you farewell. If you're still here, I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude to my kind-hearted supporters over on Patreon. I truly am forever grateful for your generosity. I know times are rather tough for a lot of people right now, so for you to support me in such a way with everything going on in the lives of your own, really can't find proper words other than thank you. I'd also like to give another warm thank you to my high-tier community members such as J. Jackson Hall, Goth Barbie 3000, Amanda Barnett, and Ellis Hurd. I'd also like to present an extra special thank you to Alice Beth, Aiken Priogi, and Hatter for their highest tier subscription support. You all have my expressive gratitude. Thank you, be well, stay safe, and good night.